We've all seen AI write poems, create images, and even code. But what if it could do something way bigger? Some new research is asking a really profound question. Can we teach AI to organize the entire library of human knowledge?
Look, it's one thing for a large language model to generate new stuff, but it is a whole different ballgame to get it to understand and structure all the information that already exists. This isn't just about creating, it's about bringing order to chaos.
Okay, so what's the big holdup here? Well, it all boils down to this core concept in AI called an ontology, and a problem that has been a real headache for decades. Just think of an ontology as the secret sauce that makes smart systems, well, smart. It's not just a big list of facts, right? It's a map of how different ideas relate to each other. This is what lets an AI make logical connections. But here's the catch. Building these family trees by hand is incredibly slow and really, really hard.
And for decades, this has been a massive roadblock. Seriously. Progress in AI has been kind of stuck because human experts have had to painstakingly build these knowledge structures piece by piece, idea by idea. It's a huge problem called the knowledge acquisition bottleneck.
And this slide, wow, it just nails the problem, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the world's information as we usually find it, a chaotic jumble. On the right, you have what AI actually needs to think, a nice, clean, structured map. So the million-dollar question is, how do we get from that mess on the left to that beautiful order on the right, automatic?
Right, so how do we bridge that gap? Well, some researchers came up with a pretty wild idea. What if the AI, the thing that's so good at swimming in all that chaos, could actually be the one to create the order?
And the theory behind it was actually pretty compelling. Since these models have basically read a huge chunk of the internet, maybe they've secretly learned the relationships between ideas already. The hope was that they might have this hidden talent, an emergent ability to build these knowledge trees, even though nobody explicitly taught them how.
It's a great theory, right? But you've got to test it. So that's exactly what they did. They put these LLMs on the spot.
And they brought in a whole crew of contenders, 11 different AI models. We're talking the big names you've heard of, a bunch of open source models, and they even threw in a specialist, one trained only on medical texts, just to see if that specialized education would give it an edge.
So the test itself had three main parts. First up, just basic sorting, figuring out what category something belongs to. Then they had to understand hierarchies, knowing a poodle is a type of dog. And finally, the really tricky part, spotting those other, more complex connections, like how a certain disease is treated by a specific drug.
Now, this is absolutely key. The models were tested 0 shot. And that's exactly what it sounds like. It's a pop quiz. No prep, no cheat sheets, no examples. They just walked in cold. This was a true test of what these AIs knew right out of the box.
Okay, so the moment of truth. How did some of the most powerful AIs on the planet actually do on this pop quiz? Well, the results, they were definitely not what anyone was expecting. I mean, look at this. The performance was all over the place. Take GPT-4. It did pretty well organizing broad medical ideas, scoring a decent 78%. But ask it to classify a really specific cancer term? Whoa, the score just tanks, all the way down to 16%. It was pretty clear that when you needed deep, specialized knowledge, these models were really struggling. So, you see those numbers and you're probably thinking, okay, maybe LLMs just aren't the right tool for this job, right? It seemed like the whole hypothesis might be a bust. But then the researchers tried something else.
Instead of a pop quiz, what if they gave the expert, a 10-minute crash course right before the test? They decided to give the models just a few examples to learn from first. It's a process called fine-tuning.
And wow, what a difference it made. The change was absolutely dramatic. With just a little bit of this targeted training, this quick crash course, the model's performance went from kind of meh to seriously impressive. The fine-tuning totally worked.
I mean, the numbers really do speak for themselves. Remember that super tough medical task? One model score nearly tripled. And on average, across all the tests, this little bit of fine-tuning boosted performance by 25% for term typing and 18% for understanding hierarchies. This was the real breakthrough.
Okay, so what does all of this mean? What's the big takeaway here for the future of AI and, well, knowledge itself? Well, the research came back with a really clear verdict. First off, right out of the box, LLMs are not expert librarians. Not yet. They just don't have that deep, specialized reasoning to build these complicated knowledge maps from scratch. But, and this is the big but, With a little bit of guidance, they turn into these incredibly powerful assistants.
And honestly, that is the whole game changer right there. The goal isn't for LLMs to replace human experts. It's for them to become their apprentices. They can do all the heavy lifting, suggest connections, organize categories, and just make the whole process way, way faster. They could finally be the key to breaking that knowledge acquisition bottleneck we talked about.
Think about it. This new partnership between human minds and AI apprentices could finally make the dream of organizing all of the world's information a reality. And that just leaves you with one giant question. Once we can do that, what's the very first question we should ask? Thanks so much for joining me.